All right, what up, people? It's your boy Chig from Guna Eagle Eye coming to you again with a brand new video. Now, long-time subscribers of mine will know that this is kind of almost a yearly occurrence at this point in time. Actually, it's probably the third year in a row that us three have kind of got together and discussed this subject, and that is the race for the top four. Because we're so used to being in the thick of the top four. Except it ain't really going to be like that this year, as we're probably about to discuss right now. So for all of those people who aren't aware of who these two are, and they should be by now, it's my favourite Liverpool and Man United supporting pair of Robbie Richmond and Stell. Say hello to the people, guys.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
That was relatively subdued for you guys. What's going on?
What do you want us to do? Celebrate? We're not, nothing's won yet, is it? Let's be honest. But yeah, we're being polite because last time we did this, we absolutely fisted you.
Yeah, they bully me on a regular. Whenever we do this show, particularly this show, when we're discussing the running, I get bullied by this dude. And I'm just going to accept that we ain't in no top four race. I know if you're an Arsenal fan saying, "Shit, why the fuck are you doing the show?" I know. Just bear with me. Yeah, bear with me. Let's talk some football, fellas. But before we actually get going with the football, let's address the elephant in the room. Now, obviously, over the past week or so, a shitstorm has happened amongst Arsenal fans. What else is new? I know. But this time it's a certain, to quote a friend of mine, a Spanish Justin Hoyt that has caused a lot of problems in the Arsenal fan base. And that is my man, Mr. Hector Bellerin. Now, I'm going to first start this off with Stell, because Stell has very, very strong opinions on certain individuals that say very strong shit. So I figured he'd be a good lead for this. So I think with Hector Bellerin, Stell, what is your honest, brutal, no holding back opinion on what Hector Bellerin said?
Okay, well, let's start what he exactly said. He said it's so wrong for someone who claims to be a fan and their success is fed off of failure. How can that be a fan? There's just people hustling, trying to make money their way, which everyone is entitled to do. Okay, so he's basically having a pop at Arsenal Fan TV. He's saying that fans, or inverted commas fans, are becoming famous on the back of Arsenal's failure. Okay, now let's take a sidestep for a second. Now, we know full well that the guys that are on Arsenal Fan TV are ardent Arsenal fans. They go away from home. They go at home games. They, spend time going up and down the country throughout Europe, doing what they got to do, putting their hands in their pockets to spend money, which is what a fan does. So that is one thing that Hector Bellerin can shut his mouth about for a start. They are football fans. They're well entitled to their opinions. And if he doesn't agree with them, then that's tough. However, having said that, when it comes to Arsenal Fan TV, look, I've got no problem with Arsenal Fan TV. I don't support Arsenal, so why should it bother me? The only thing is, and I'm going to try and be as fair as I can with this one, because Arsenal Fan TV has taken a lot of stick over the past couple of seasons. Maybe rightly so, maybe not. The thing is, people are entitled to their opinions. They can say what they want to say. Yeah, fans can be harsh, but that's our job to be harsh. I've been harsh to United players. In fact, I've been suspended on Twitter as a result of being harsh to United players. So, when it comes to this whole Hector Bellerin thing, I can see the Arsenal fans' perspective, but I can also see his perspective. Not saying that Arsenal fans are actually making money on the back of their failure. But I just think that when it comes to the whole situation, there is an element of, we've got a fan channel and we're kind of influencing fans per se. I know people have said that Arsenal Fan TV is toxic. Well, it's toxic for the people that watch it and take offense to it. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. It's like what I say to football fans that are pissed off about their team performing, but yet they still turn up week in, week out. If you don't like it, then don't spend your money. It's that simple. I've got a child, right? I would rather look after my child than watch a Man United fan channel, people ranting about it. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. I gave up my season ticket in 2010 because I'm not happy with the way the club is run. I'm not happy with circumstances. I'm not going to go back. In fact, I enjoy not going now because I've seen the state of our fans these days. So I really don't want to go back to that, to be fair. And I've done it. I've been throughout Europe. I've been to Moscow. I've done the American tour. I've done the European games. I've done it. So for me, it's just something that it's not a necessity anymore, if that makes sense. Back then it was. Now I've got different responsibilities, and that's how I see Arsenal fan TV. People that are bitching about it, if you're married and you've got kids and you've got big responsibilities and you're getting really pissed off about Arsenal fan TV, I've really got to question your stability and your mental state. If you're a youngster and you're a teenager and you're going through the whole puberty thing and the testosterone bollocks, okay, it's understandable you're going to get bent out of shape about it. But to personally attack people on Twitter because they've got an opinion about a game, and let's be honest, it is a game. There's something really, really wrong with you. But going back to what Hector Bellerin said, yes, he's entitled to his opinion as a footballer. But then when you listen to the rest of his interview, which was pretty good, to be fair. I mean, I think he came across as a decent fella, very articulate for someone that's been in England for
some good subjects, which unfortunately has been lost in all this. Like he talked about racism in football, he talked about mental health, and showed some real intelligent foresight on those subjects. Yeah. It's shame that it then was clouded by this shit.
Yeah, but Chris, do you remember the last time I came on with Rob? I think it was the beginning of the season, and we were talking about certain players. In fact, I think it might have been with Lee, and I mentioned Hector Bellerin's attitude when it comes to like the catwalk, when it comes to the modelling, and I was saying, players' attitudes, players like him. It's a different kettle of fish these days, because back when I was watching football as a teenager, we didn't have that. Okay, we had David Beckham, but that was the closest thing we had to like a football celebrity. But Bellerin is moving into like the entertainment field, and it's quite interesting what he said in that actual interview, where he said, I'm with this specific brand. I would only go to a specific brand if I can relate to it, so I wouldn't go with a beer brand, which is understandable because he doesn't drink beer, as he said. But once again, it's picking and choosing certain. How should I put it? Picking and choosing certain brands to suit his agenda or to suit his beliefs and his ideology and the way that he can influence people. So for him to turn around and have a go at Arsenal fan TV who are influencing other fans, well, is he not kind of influencing other people to buy into the brand that he's tied into? Maybe that's just me putting my marketing hat on. And me just sitting on the fence with things, but that's just how I see. Maybe he's a little bit of hypocrisy there.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with Stel, he has his own podcast, Shoot the Defense. Have you had an opportunity to discuss this on your show, and have you kind of gauged the sort of reaction to these comments from Hector, or have you not had the opportunity?
Well, the interview I think was aired after our show on Tuesday, so we didn't really get the chance. But we have spoken about not just Hector Bellerin, but a lot of Arsenal players' mentality. And Rodri Giggs is one of my co-hosts. He says it, time and time again. Arsenal players, a lot of them are yellow, and the yellow-bellied in terms of their mentality. They're not mentally strong, and their priorities lie elsewhere, not on the field. Back in the day, it was 80-20. It was 80% on the pitch, 20% off the pitch. Whereas now it seems to be 50-50, if not leaning more towards what they're doing off the pitch. Precisely what Bellerin said, in the sense that I'm still young, I've got the rest of my career ahead of me, but what am I going to do when my career is over? I need something to fall back on. Or what do I do when I'm not training? So again, he's mentioning what he does off the pitch. And he's well entitled to do whatever he wants to do off the pitch. It's not like you or I or Robbie, where we've got 9 to 5s where we finish work and then we come home and we do what we've got to do, and then we're ready for the next day. He trains maybe 2-3 times a week, but he's got the rest of the day to focus on what he's got to do. Understandable, it's his life. But don't make it seem like that's more important than your game. He didn't really talk about what he does in training. He really didn't talk about his diet. He really didn't talk about what us as a fan, we need to know what you do on the pitch. We don't want to know what you do off the pitch because we see it in the papers, we see it on Twitter, we see it on social media, we don't want to know these things. We don't care. If you're doing well and you're banging 20 goals a season and 25 goals a season, or you're keeping clean sheets, or you're being that Dani Alves right back that everyone wants you to be, then fine. by all means do it. But has his performances warranted him to come out and slate the fans for what they said? I don't think so.
The anger. Yeah.
If it was, I'm just trying to think of. Okay, let's say Harry Kane. Let's say Harry Kane came out and said, you know, the Spurs fan TV. If there was a Spurs fan TV, if Harry Kane turned around and said Spurs fan TV shouldn't be talking about what's going on the pitch, he's well entitled to, because he's banging in goals. He's got 105 goals in 2 years or whatever it is. Be well entitled to. If it was, I can't think of any Arsenal player that's been overperforming. I'm sorry, but if it was a player that's been overperforming for their team, carrying them, then I'd say, yeah, like, fine, come out and say, okay, Alexis Sanchez, right, perfect example. Not because he's joined United, but back in the last season, people were saying if it worked for Alexis Sanchez, Arsenal wouldn't have done this, wouldn't have done that. Fine. If Alexis Sanchez came out and said, Arsenal fan TV, please back off, like, you know, we're trying to do what we can here, I'd say fine, because he's been overperforming. He's been putting in shifts. He's been doing what a lot of players should be. He's doing maybe a 2-player shift than a 1-player shift. And I'd say fine, cool. But Hector Bellerin, of all players, who's more focused on going on a catwalk and doing his hair pretty, and he hasn't been putting in performances where I can say, right, you're justified to slate the fans. You're justified to say, I'm on 120 grand a week. Before I stop, you know, my last thing before this whole rant thing, I'm going to let you guys carry on. When we say we put our hands in our pockets and we pay your wages, we need to stop saying that, because we don't. Yeah. We don't. The money that we spend on match days isn't a fraction of what a footballer earns. What a footballer earns is based on the sponsorship and the revenue that the club makes, and that subsidizes their wage. What a player makes in lucrative sponsorship deals is what they make from, obviously, what Hector Bellerin says about his hair brands and all that kind of stuff. Hence the reason why he's saying, oh, I've associated myself with this brand and that brand, because A, they effectively bump his wage up, and B, it improves his profile. So when he does retire from football, he can end up on Coronation Street or EastEnders, or even in a next Marvel movie, which Robbie will probably not watch. So, you know,
I would.
If Hector Bellerin was
watch it, I'd throw my popcorn at the screen and call him a cunt.
Fair enough. So yeah, that's my perspective on Hector Bellerin, and you can probably fast forward to the next 10 minutes when you're watching it back.
Listen, I just want to chime in on this.
We're going. Go ahead.
I'll be quick, because Stell's covered it very, very well, and I tend to agree with Stell, particularly when he's right. But there's other elements that you have to take into account, right? Whether you like Arsenal Fan TV or not is irrelevant. It's actually genuinely irrelevant, because what it is it's a market leader currently. It was the first one to get popular. It was the first one to go out and interview fans post-game. The first one to stick it up on YouTube. The first one to try and build its brand. And now you are seeing, like, West Ham have got one. Liverpool have got one. Man United have got one. Loads of other clubs have jumped on the bandwagon off the stuff that Robbie and his friends did first, right? But because they did it first doesn't mean they're doing it best, right? And that's not to say that what they're doing is shit, because it isn't. The quality of their, like, from their production standpoint, it's really, really good. You can always hear what lads have to say. You can always see everybody, and it's of a good quality, right? A lot of the other ones that have jumped on the bandwagon don't have that yet, until maybe they get a bit of money for some better quality equipment. But still, they currently are the best, but they need to keep improving and learning, and that's what they're doing as a YouTube channel. You know, like you're never going to see them doing the stuff like Logan Paul does or anything like that on their YouTube channel. These lads are a lot sharper and smarter than any of these fucking, you know, American dickheads that are, quite frankly, you know.
really tell us what you think, Blimey.
Listen,
Rob, what you've got to bear in mind is that you're talking about someone whose target audience is practically the same target audience as, say, Jackass or
absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly that. That's what I'm kind of moving to now. Is that
I don't think Arsenal Fan TV's target audience is that. However, having said that, I'm just going to throw it out there. Is there a possibility that they could be in cahoots when it comes to this? Because people are going to question this. And my reasoning is when you hear about or when you see DT and troops turning up to these FIFA 18 promotional events, they're talking to like the Iwobis, they're talking to all these other Arsenal players out there, and they're being really nice and friendly to them. So for Hector Bellerin to come out and say that, I just think that Arsenal Fan TV has done so much for Arsenal Football Club. People don't realise how much of an impact this fan channel has had for Arsenal, because it's basically free advertising, really, for Arsenal, because they don't really have to spend extra money on marketing and doing this and that. I mean, one clip of Mkhitaryan saying, "Pierre, you want to come here?" It goes viral. Yeah, people go crazy, but it's people like Arsenal Fan TV that latch onto it and they really snowball it. It's very clever how they do it. At first, when I first saw Arsenal Fan TV, I thought this is a bloody joke. But you know what? They know what they're doing. They really know what they're doing. And credit to Ball Street, who took them on and have really backed them, because it's really taken the fan experience to another level. Again, it's had negative press. At the same time, like, that's what happens when you got social media. It's a platform for everyone to give their opinion. Like now, it's a platform for me to tell you how I feel, and likewise you guys. So, and also the chat room, which is buzzing at the moment. And I like to know everyone's opinion on Arsenal Fan TV, and if there's a possibility that they're working alongside Arsenal, because it just seems that if Arsenal had a problem with it, then surely Robbie would have got a solicitor's letter in the post by now. That's how I see it, you know. Because you're talking about branding as well, with trademarks. These guys are wearing Arsenal shirts and they're criticising the club. They're wearing Arsenal caps. They're criticising the club. The club's crest on the shirt, on the scarf, whatever. If the club had a problem with it, I think that Robbie and this lot would have been shut down a long time ago, personally. But sorry, Karen, as you were, Robbie. Sorry,
you jumped in, you bugger, and that's basically what I was going to say. Was that? Yeah, I wouldn't say, I don't know if they're in cahoots, but it's, as I said, because they are a market leader. They are a market leader. And in that respect, things evolve. Things change. Like stuff where Toops and DT and that and all the rest of the guys have become like minor sports Twitter celebrities. That's absolutely fine. But I've seen some of their replies, and I fucking wouldn't like that if I got sent some of the stuff they get sent. I wouldn't like it. I'm sure you wouldn't either. Do you know what I mean? Like, go and kill your kids and all this sort of stuff that I've seen. Like, fuck off, mate. Jesus Christ.
Over a fucking football game.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Honestly, like, grow the fuck up. Jesus Christ. But listen, what I would say, I'll just say two things very quickly about it, is what Hector Bellerin talked about, as you said before, about mental health and about racism in football. I would love for Robbie to sit down and say, we're not going to talk about what he said about us. We're going to talk about the things that he said that are really interesting and really, really important for a wider understanding of football supporters, not just of Arsenal or Spurs or United or Chelsea, for everybody. Because we do need, collectively, as supporters, to have a better understanding of mental health, as we've seen what's happened this week with our friends, Ian Ackley and Paul Stewart, and everything that's happened with Barry Bennell. And we obviously still have the problem where last week in French football, Mario Balotelli was yellow carded for complaining about racism. And hardly anybody has talked about that. Hardly anybody. And that is scandalous. That's a really important thing that we all need to be discussing. It's balmy to me. So I would challenge Robbie to say, right, we understand what you're saying, Hector. However, what you did talk about was really important. We're going to talk about it because they do have a voice and people do listen to them.
They will have a sit down. It's going to happen. It's on the card.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
They got Gary Neville on, and as good as it was on Gary Neville to appear on Arsenal Fan TV and talk to them, and it was a good interview. But the one criticism I have of it is that it just seemed that at one point they were just gang up on him, saying, "Oh, why?" The only question that one of them seemed to be asking, I forget his name, but he was asking, "Oh, well, why did you call him an imbecile? Why did you call him an idiot? Why?" I'm like, you're sitting down with Gary Neville, a Sky Sports pundit, okay, a failed manager and a bit of a prick of a person, but
wow.
Well, listen. You know where my loyalty lies. You know what I mean?
I know. Whenever you say stuff like that, you have your own reasons. I get it. Don't worry.
Okay. So it was good on him to appear on the show. But I'd have thought if you've got 10, 15 minutes or even half an hour with someone like that, make the most of it, because you may not get that chance again. You may never. I mean, for all we know, Arsenal Fan TV might have bombed after that. It hasn't, and we don't know how much of a shelf life it has. So when they have someone like Gary Neville on, or if they do get Bellerin on, don't just quiz him about one thing that he said. You know, broaden your scope, make your show more entertaining, and more of, get a bigger target audience, because you know there are going to be other people that want to know what Bellerin has to say about, you know, what's happening in Catalonia. You know, he didn't elaborate on it in that interview with Oxford, so perhaps he would elaborate with Arsenal Fan TV, and then effectively they've got a bigger audience in Catalonia. So you got to think outside the box. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they won't do that, because they're very intelligent what they're doing there. They're very intelligent, got a very good production team, very good research team, and they know exactly what they're doing. But as I said, if they do get him on, I really hope that they're going to have people on that want to talk to him about other subjects, as Robbie said, because we don't just want to hear about his response to something that, you know, 3 sentences that he said last week. It's old news now. We're still discussing it, but by the time they speak to him, it's going to be old news, and we're going to forget about it at the end of the week. I mean, for crying out loud, does anyone still talk about De Gea nicking a donut from Tesco? No, it's old news.
This is it.
It happened. It happened.
I'm with you, Stel, again. You know, listen, there is a horrible misconception that all footballers are dumb. Right, and that doesn't necessarily mean that. All right, you know, listen, Alan Shearer seems to prove it every week on Match of the Day that he is not a smart man, but not all footballers are like that, and I don't expect, like, you know, like Soccer AM. I don't watch Soccer AM anymore. Like, I can remember we sitting down one week and watching it, and they had, oh god, I can't remember what footballer. He used to play for Leicester, and then he went to Chelsea. Kante. Yeah. And they were asking about his favourite biscuits or something. I'm just like, okay, thank you, bye-bye, fuck off. Like, I couldn't give 2 fucks. What's your favourite biscuit? I literally, like, you have the opportunity to tell me something about yourself or ask a question, you know, reveal something about this guy that I don't know, and you ask him about fucking biscuits. Get to fuck.
Listen, Rob, do you remember Ian Dazoo that used to play for Wigan Athletic a few years ago?
I remember the name. Was he a central defender?
That's right. Yeah. He retired, I think, was it 2009?
Yeah.
And, he's actually specialising in forensics now. So not all footballers are thick. Not all footballers.
No, exactly.
You know, but yeah, listen, my mate Daniel Nardiello, he's played for United. He's a chartered accountant. You know, it's what they do at the end of their careers. But people like that, they were unfortunate to end their careers when the tide was changing, because if they were playing now, then they'd have more opportunities to make money off at the end of their careers. That's why you see people like Dean Saunders and Paul Merson on the telly, because they got mates in high places that get them roles. But my friend Paul Parker, you know, just about makes it on Sky Sports, and just about has a job in Singapore, but because people think that he's old hat. Hang about, he's played in the World Cup semi-final. What has has Paul Merson done that? You know, has he won numerous Premier League titles? Has he? I don't know. So I don't know. Anyway, again, that's just my yeah.
So I think in terms of, because people keep asking me what is my impression of Hector Bellerin, and I've been deliberately very quiet, mainly because I've kind of just thought to myself, like, I understood why certain people made like very reactionary videos, but I kind of just took the attitude of, well, it's not really my fight. I understand both sides. I think everyone is entitled to an opinion. It was Hector Bellerin's opinion, right or wrong. What I will say about the way he was, I think there was a way to answer that question without causing all this. Like, he ultimately said he didn't watch it, but then gave a further opinion on something he didn't watch, which I think then rile people up. And then you're going to create a shitstorm when you do things like that. To me, and my opinion, I have the utmost respect for Robbie. Lord knows I get told every day by some ignorant person that I apparently look like him. So Lord knows, if for no other reason, I have respect for the man. I admire what he's done. Of course, I hope that my show emulates even a quarter of his success. To me, I think they're a victim of their own success, and because of that, they are an easy target. They are an easy target for when Arsenal lose. They are an easy target for when Arsenal win. They're an easy target for when they're mentioned in the public eye or by football players or by anybody outside of the game. They are so. In fact, because of their success, they are the media at this point. That literally they are part of that media circle. When you think of YouTube, you automatically think of Arsenal Fan TV, particularly if you're a football fan or if you're based in the UK. So because of that, they are a target. Do I think that Bellerin's criticism was unfair and the way he generalized it? Yeah, I thought so, but I also thought it was the comments of a young boy who didn't completely understand the entire format and what he was talking about. I'm not going to shit on him for it. I understand why people are. Just in my opinion, he's not attacking me. I understand that he's attacking Arsenal Fan TV and the people that go on it, and as a result, those people are reacting badly. I can completely understand that. But to me, I don't really have any kind of ill will to him. To me, my issues with him are on the damn pitch. I don't really care how long his hair is. I don't care what modelling he does. Just perform better on the damn pitch. That's all I ask from him as a football fan of that club.
Well, Chris, it's like I was saying about Jesse Lingard a couple of seasons ago, even up until the back end of 2017. I was saying, mate, if you showed as much energy and desire to do well on the pitch than you do off the pitch, and I'll be happy. And he wasn't. And all of a sudden, he just came in the side and started banging in goals, and he's won me over because of his attitude. He hasn't, he's dipped a little bit at the moment, but he's not the same Jesse Lingard as what I remember, middle of 2017, where he was spending too much time pissing about social media. Yeah, he still does it, but he does it, in every now and again, if that makes sense.
Do you think, Stel, do you think that someone sat him down and said, listen, this is not how social media works, mate?
I think the club have spoken to him.
Yeah.
The club is trailing Arsenal and Man City from a social media perspective. Man City, their social media is phenomenal. If you get the chance, look at their YouTube channel. Look at what they've released a Facebook game, for crying out loud. They are really tapping into different markets and different areas. And United are falling behind, and the gap is getting bigger, not just on the pitch but off it. And I think players like Lingard and Pogba, what their antics off the pitch, it's great for Adidas because it keeps their logo everywhere and people throwing it in people's faces. But the club, I think, and Jose especially, has said to them, look, pipe down, calm it down a little bit, because you're not performing as well as you should and as well as your sponsors are making you out to be, and it's adding more pressure to you, it's adding more pressure to the club, and it's getting the fans on your back. A lot of fans were turning on Jesse Lingard, myself especially, and then Rod, bless him, he loves Jesse, like he knows Jesse's dad, and he's been saying to me, look, he'll come good, but I'm like, he's 24, 25 years old, when's he going to come good? But now he's actually showing what he can do, and I like that. I like to see United players play for the shirt. He's a youngster. He loves the club. And this is the thing about Hector Bellerin. I know he's not an Arsenal boy. He wasn't born in England. He wasn't born in London. But Arsenal plucked him from Barcelona, and they've made him into a player. They've made him into a Spain international. And yeah, he's given back. He's done stuff for Grenfell. He's done what he's got to do for the community. I understand. But this is the club that pays your wages. Fans are entitled to their opinions. If you don't like it, then don't follow. Look at all these musicians and artists all over the world, like your Lady Gagas, your Madonnas, all these, they get utmost abuse. They get death threats everywhere. But that's part and parcel of being a celebrity. That's part and parcel of being in the public eye.
That's what I compared. That's what I compared. I said this to Lee yesterday. I compare Arsenal Fan TV and the critics that Bellerin was talking about, saying they're not real fans. I compare that to actors. They do films every single day, and they don't just get professional critics reviewing those films. They get people on YouTube literally reviewing their films, trashing their films, talking, saying that, that was a poor performance, this, that, and the other. It's the equivalent of that. I've never in my life...
How much abuse?
No, that's shit. Oh, they're not real fans because they didn't like my performance in, I don't know, Hitch or something. Like, what are you talking about? And I think that's what pisses people off, because it's like, well, you're not performing, like you said, Stel, at the very start of the show. If you're performing to that standard and then you want to turn around and then criticize the fans for not supporting the team, it still wouldn't go down great, but it would at least be taken on better than for Hector Bellerin. The only person worse in that situation to have said that would have either been Granit Xhaka or Iwobi to have said those words. Oh my gosh, I can't think what would have happened if Iwobi had said that. Death threats would have literally happened at that point.
I just think there's a way of going about things, Rob. I mean, Chig, if you're going about, swanning about and rubbing it in fans' faces, you're gonna get the backlash. As I said, if you can back it up, then fine. Say what you got to say. You can be critical. You can, so even constructively or not. But the way I see it is that he sat in front of these people in Oxford. They were fawning over him. He had a lot of good points, but when he said what he said, it struck a chord with me, because I'm like, well, if your performances on the pitch were half decent, then you can perhaps say something. But he hasn't been great. He really hasn't. And I say this about Walcott. I say this about Martial and Rashford. Take the pace away from them. What do you have? You have average footballers, and that's effectively what Bellerin is. He can afford to make a couple of mistakes defensively because he's quick enough to react. But even then, is he intelligent enough? I really don't understand. I remember when
week in, week out, he never, just like Theo, really never used his pace effectively. He would always use his pace to try and recover defensively, and even that he's not great at, to be honest. He's honestly, there's I can name 10 right backs out there. 10 at least. Well,
listen, put it this way,
and that's just.
Do you think the club pulled him up on what he said? Do you really think that they sat him down and said, right, great what you said about everything else, but you shouldn't have said what you said?
I think so, but not in the way I would hope. So right. In the way I hope is the way you just described, how somebody would have spoken to Lingard, would have spoken to Pogba, told them to, address their characters and calm down. I reckon Wenger will probably say something on Monday morning, telling Bellerin to keep a low profile. For that reason, I don't think you will ever necessarily see him on Arsenal Fan TV, but I think they'll tell him to keep a low profile. Football fans are fickle. They'll forget about it and they'll move on.
Listen, boys. Bellerin doesn't need telling when he's played badly. He fucking knows. He fucking knows when he's had a shit. Everybody does. Every professional footballer gets to be a professional footballer by recognising the fact that they've had a bad game and find ways to improve it. Last time we were talking, and we were talking with Lee, and I said to you about like a player's improvement, right? Hector Bellerin, at the current state, you'd say, like, by and large, he gives you 6 out of 10 performances for the majority of the season. But as a professional footballer, his improvement is not linear, right? It goes like that. It goes up and down. It doesn't go like that. It doesn't. Now, there's loads of mitigating factors around that, because it depends who's playing inside him. It depends who's playing in front of him. It depends on a massive amount of factors. So long as the guy is willing, and I say this collectively of all top-level professional footballers, so long as the guy is willing to admit his mistakes, and he doesn't have to do it in public, as long as he's able to sit down, like they're doing the video analysis and said, yeah, I've had a stinker there. I mean, an absolute dog's dinner of that. I fucked up. I won't do it again. I've learned my lesson. And you can see that he's learned his lesson. He doesn't do it again, or less often, again, depending on mitigating circumstances. You can't really ask any more of that. Now, the guys on Arsenal Fan TV can come out and say, so-and-so played like shit. Xhaka gets absolute, gets dog's abuse. But he's not a bad footballer. The other side of the coin is, are Arsenal using somebody like Granit Xhaka appropriately? See? So that's a nice little segue. Let's talk about Xhaka, because I'm fed up with Bellerin.
Well, the only other thing I'd bring up about Bellerin and where he doesn't help himself, I thought it was a disastrous line to come out with, which was late last week. He was talking about how Alexis Sanchez and his mentality was overbearing because he always wanted to win, and as he put it, it got a bit much. And we as Arsenal fans who ain't won shit in ages look at that and think, what? So because somebody wanted to win, that upset you, Hector, did it? We're not running the playbook here.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing that I took away from the whole Bellerin debacle, is that tells you everything you need to know about the culture in the club. And again, you are going to have professional footballers that are going to show up, and it's a 9 to 5 for them, and they are earning a huge amount of money, and they see being a professional footballer as a job. And then you get players like Alexis Sanchez. We had the same thing with your man when he was at Liverpool, Suarez, was that Suarez would play with serious injuries and just didn't give a shit because he just wanted to play. Bobby Firmino at Liverpool currently is very much of the same ilk, that same manner. And we know that this is very much a South American. It's a South American thing. And it's something that is unfortunately desperately missing from a huge amount of professional footballers across the Premiership. There's a reason why there are 8 teams in the relegation battle, because a lot of them just don't give enough of a fuck. All right? Now, Bellerin to turn around and say, oh, it was a bit overbearing. Do you know what? If you didn't get the fucking message, Hector, if you didn't get the fucking message, you can forget getting a move to Barcelona, because if you can't handle that pressure and that responsibility at Arsenal, you can fucking forget it at fucking Barcelona, sweetheart. You won't last 5 minutes.
It was overbearing for Sanchez. You have another at least 18 plus players in Barcelona, the team you want to go to so badly. You have 18 plus players that all they do is breathe and live winning. And if you are not giving all to the cause, not only will you get the players on your case, the fans are literally coming after you.
They're going to firebomb your house, mate.
They are literally coming after you. You think it's bad here? Blimey. You have nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But anyway, to segue into what you tried to segue into before, Granit Xhaka. I can't wait to speak to Stella about this one, because he promised me this time last year we'd have a glorious player in Granit Xhaka. Stel, tell me you're seeing this disaster of a player in Granit Xhaka. Tell me.
Okay, first of all, I'll take him over Ander Herrera any day. If you want to swap him, fine.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd have him at Liverpool. I'd have him at Liverpool.
If you want someone to run around like a headless chicken and concede stupid free kicks and do all sorts of stupidness, and fine, take Ander Herrera, take the Spanish cleverly, take him. I would take Granit Xhaka at a drop of a hat. I think he's a very good footballer, very intelligent. He's always looking for that killer ball. He's always looking for that pass. Okay, defensively, he's awful, but he's not a defensive midfielder. People need to get off this Championship Manager, Football Manager nonsense that they're going on in their heads about him being this box-to-box midfielder that can win the ball and then traipse up the pitch 30 yards. He is the closest thing you have to Michael Carrick, and he's a fantastic, clever footballer. And if you don't appreciate him on the ball, then, well, I don't know what to say to you. Yeah, he hasn't pulled up trees for Arsenal. People said the same about Varane not being great at Man United.
Right.
Very intelligent footballer.
I don't know what
I see a baller. I see a player that's good on the ball. I see a player that's intelligent. I see a player that can create chances. But the thing is, he's not being played in his right position. If you want to play,
where is his right position then? Honestly,
well, listen, you're playing Ramsey and Ozil in his positions. You're playing him in the central midfield position. You're telling him to get forward, and you're asking him to sit back. That's not what he does.
So you're saying
he didn't do that in Germany. I'm not saying he's a number 10. I'm saying he's number 8.
Yeah, I think he's an 8.
He's not a 4.
6. Yeah, he's not a 6 or a 4. He's an 8. And we all know this, guys. Come on, look. It's in many ways, it's a beautiful backhanded compliment that Arsenal have so many good players who are ball-playing footballers in their squad. But trying to play 4 of them and then go, oh, why is the midfield getting overrun? Why? Oh, fuck. Oh, look, they've scored. Oh, fuck. It's just not a balanced midfield. It's not. And it's not designed to get the very best out of it. Like, listen, pick one. Just fucking pick one. Do you know what I mean? Because if you want to get the best out of Ozil, then you're going to have to play two legitimate holding midfielders. You're going to have to play Maitland-Niles there and El Neni. You're going to have to, right? If you want to get the best out of him, right? And it's the same with Xhaka. Ramsey, honestly, I really like Ramsey. He's a great player, in my opinion. But by fuck, when you don't have the ball, the game just passes him by. It does nothing to help Xhaka. Nothing.
Let me just step on something quickly, because this really rattles me, because when I hear Mkhitaryan and Kevin De Bruyne getting all these ratings before they came to England, they're like, oh, they were fantastic in the Bundesliga. They got all this assists. The stats were on their side. They were fantastic in the Bundesliga. And they come out here and they smash it. Well, De Bruyne, not so much Mkhitaryan, but Xhaka comes out.
We're coming on to your favourite player. Don't worry about that.
Xhaka comes out here. He's played out of position. He's played expecting to do a defensive midfield role, which isn't what he does. He expected to be a Momo Sissoko to break the ball, break up play. He doesn't do that because that's not his job. And then he gets slated, but yet he was one of the Bundesliga's best players. And people saying, oh, yeah, anyone that likes him is delusional. Well, you know what? You're delusional because you don't appreciate good football. Perhaps you want players that are very good on FIFA 18 and want to be, gold stars and whatever the fuck they call them these days, team of the week. Well, get on my fucking life, because at the end of the day, I'm sick and tired of players being rated because of a fucking computer game, rather than players that are very good on the ball. If he was rubbish, would he be irregular for his national team? And I'm pretty sure Switzerland do. Well, listen, because people don't appreciate good footballers. You want, see, the thing is, let me tell you something, right? If Mesut Ozil didn't get 40 odd assists in a season at Real Madrid, would he have been rated? No. Would he?
Like I said,
he wouldn't.
I love you guys. Xhaka.
He comes to England. He comes to England and he gets assists. Right, because he creates chances. He's a very intelligent footballer. He can pick a pass from 30, 40 yards. I think he's the closest player Arsenal have got to, say, like a Paul Scholes, but without the attitude, without the winning attitude, the winning mentality, or the desire to play for the shirt. Granit Xhaka gets such a hard... he gets so rinsed by the fans because he isn't a Vieira, because he isn't a Gilberto Silva, because he isn't a David Hillier, because he isn't a David Rocastle. And I'm mentioning players that were good on the ball, that could pass the ball. These are players that I mentioned that half these people that are watching don't even know who I'm talking about, because they probably started supporting Arsenal when they were 6 years old at 1996 or 1997. So I can name these players that were very good on the ball. And Granit Xhaka is a fantastic footballer. He's just not played in the right system. And the next manager that comes in is going to play him in the right system, and you're going to see a very good footballer. So there.
Yeah, if you want to send him to Liverpool, mate, honestly, I'd have him in a fucking heartbeat, mate. I'd have him in a heartbeat. Because we know how to get... honestly, it's just a situation where I understand where you're coming from, and it's different for you guys. I understand everyone in the chat room's just losing their shit. Right? But...
I couldn't care less. If you're going to worry about what other people say,
I don't. Not particularly. I was a little bit concerned by the guy that had a dig at Robbie. Anyway, that doesn't matter. What I was going to say is this: is that if you can't see that Xhaka's a good footballer just because he's playing badly, that's a bit of a worry to me, right? You have to take your bias away. I understand you guys watch him, Chrissy. I understand you guys watch him every week, right? But always saying to you, I think, like, Stel will agree with me, from a point of view, from an outsider looking in, we both see a very good footballer being misused, right? Now, I'll say the same thing to you that I would have said to Stel if we were talking about Henrik Mkhitaryan. Just because he's playing badly doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's a bad player overnight, right? Mkhitaryan, on paper, is a perfect fit for Arsenal. He is. Yeah. He's a perfect fucking fit. But if you're going to play him and Ozil together, right, and you're going to let in goals and you're not going to finish in the top four and you're going to blame Xhaka for it, you are an absolute gang of cunts. You're an absolute gang of cunts.
Listen,
because you and I know exactly who it's going to be who is not going to pull their balls out. You know who they're going to be.
Way before Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang came in, Xhaka has been a liability since the start of this season. If we're being real, the start of last calendar year.
Well, more than Koscielny. More than Koscielny.
More than Koscielny. Great point.
More reliability than Koscielny. The boss.
I never said more than
Koscielny.
I never said more than Koscielny. I never once said Morgan Koscielny. He has been a liability. The guy, he can't get the ball out of his feet quick enough. The only thing he seems to be able to master very well, and I'll grant you, he can hit a brilliant diagonal ball. But his short passing range is one of the worst I've ever seen for a central midfielder. And you're telling me that he's being... I agree to a degree he's being misused. But we've also played him with defensive players. We played him with El Nene. Last year, we played him.
That's the only option they've got, though, Stel, isn't it? That's how the squad is, isn't it? Listen, that's the problem, isn't it? That's what I'm getting at. The best option as a legitimate holding midfielder that they've got is El Nene, who's a decent enough player, but again, he's completely out of his depth, being asked to do that kind of a job.
I think
Xhaka, fucking hell.
To be honest, I really do. I don't rate the player. I'll sell him tomorrow.
That's all you've got, though, isn't it? It's all well and good saying you're going to sell the player. Fine, sell him. But you only get 2 opportunities to buy players. And what did you not do in January? You didn't get Nzonzi again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So what can you do? Like you're stuck with what you've got now. We're talking about the fight for finishing in the top 4. You can't say, oh well, we're gonna get rid of him. And if you're gonna get rid of him, then fair enough. You've got to fucking deal with what you've got right fucking now. You've just said to me that Xhaka's short passing game isn't very good. You are comparing it, right, respectfully, to 3 lads in the side whose short passing game is absolutely superb. So it won't look very fucking good, will it? Let's be honest. Come on.
Special central midfielder should be able to pass the ball 10 yards. The man can't do that. I've seen him do it week in, week out, and he can't do it. He can't do it. The league is way too quick for him, and that's the problem.
It might well be the case. You listen, Chris, you have a valid point. Again, like I said, like me and Stel don't watch him every week like you guys do. So, and as I imagine, I'd like to think that the chat room has probably sussed out that Stel and I are very much playing devil's advocate this evening, both of us. It's a bit like Morecambe and White.
You also got Liverpool fans saying, Robbie, no, I don't want Xhaka for Liverpool.
No, I don't give a fuck what he thinks.
That's Liverpool fans.
That's what this cunt thinks. We've got fucking baby Keith coming. I don't give 2 fucks, mate. We've got baby Keith. Everything's going to be all right. Listen, if you're going to sell him, I'm telling you this, right? If you sell him, like, I understand what you're saying. Let's say you sell him to somebody like Juventus or Roma or Napoli, and he goes to Italy, right? He'll be a golden god out there. He'll be an absolute golden god. And some bright spark in the chat room will eventually, like 18 months later, go, do you remember when we had Xhaka? He was, he's a fucking, he's the boss now. Like, because that's how fucking football works, dude. We all know this. There's loads of players that take absolutely ages to settle at a club.
Chris,
we've had this discussion before, and I know that, Chris, I know you're not fond of giving players an opportunity to bed in, learn how the system works, learn like the names of the fucking players and stuff. But, dude, like, the best example,
it's very rare. If I say somebody's shit straight off the bat, it's very rare that I'm proven wrong. Like, I've always thought Mustafi was shit. And I called it maybe within about 4 months into his Arsenal career, and people are like, oh, you know, let Mustafi settle. And I said, you know what, fair enough. I'll let Mustafi settle. And if anything, he's regressed. He's actually worse than I thought. Like, I think he's so poor. I could just see it in Xhaka. I'm just not convinced. I'm not. But the irony is, conversely, I actually think there's a player in Mkhitaryan. I suppose that's a little segue. Where I know that Stel has 0 time for this motherfucker. But I do. I think there is a really good play. I think his decision-making sometimes is a bit off. And that's one thing I have realised. But I think there's a player there that if Wenger can just get into him and play him in the right position, I don't like this left-hand side bullshit that seems to be doing with Mkhitaryan. If you can play him in the right position, on the right, maybe in the middle, swapping positions with Ozil every now and again, maybe we can get the best out of him. What do you guys think?
I would build a team around him. Because obviously that would really upset the fucking chat room. Listen, right, listen. You're in a situation where you've just given a lot of money to Ozil, who's nearly 30. You've got Xhaka, who's 25, just turned 25. Is that right?
25, yeah, I think so.
Just turned 25. You've got Aaron Ramsey, who's always been this great white hope. That when you're on fire, he's often in and around everything that's good. And then you've still got like the last time I spoke with you, Chris, you said that the best player of the season thus far for Arsenal has been who?
Monreal, and that's still the case.
Monreal, and who was the other one? The little midfielder.
Oh, what, the one that's left for United?
No, the other one that's probably going to go somewhere else. What's he called? I can't think of his name. Little fella, annoying, gobshite, likes to drink, and a little bit of cocaine, maybe, allegedly.
Oh, Mr. Wilshere. Okay,
Mr. Wilshere, yeah. What he's going to have to do, and I imagine, I like to think that you are going to get a new manager this summer.
Oh, please, God, from your list.
You've got to do something about the balance of these four guys. You cannot keep playing these four guys together. Now, if he wants to go 3 at the back and play 5 in the middle, then you definitely can't play these 4. You definitely can't play these 4 guys together. They just don't complement one another. You've got 3 guys there and Xhaka to a lesser extent. 4 guys that want the ball to themselves all of the time, right? And you can't. It's just horribly imbalanced. Listen, I just nipped out. This is my reading book on the toilet at the moment. Klopp, Bring the Noise by Raphael Honigstein. I just want to say this to the chat room. Obviously, I'm reading a book about Liverpool at the moment. I'm a Liverpool fan. That doesn't stop me from reading books about Manchester United, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea. And I recommend that you do the same. Read about other clubs. There's a bit in here. I had the page and I fucking put the book down, haven't I? Right. There's a bit in here where Klopp he sits down and he's having a cup of coffee with his coaching lads, and he says,
"They're not talking defensive coaching, are they?"
Sorry.
They're not talking defensive coaching, are they?
No, we don't need to, darling. We keep the ball. Everything's all right now. We pay £75 million and everything's all right. Don't worry. It's fine. It's fine. Listen. He says he's talking about goalkeepers, but like the point remains for all footballers. He said there is the guy called Zeko Buvac who says there's 11 guys on the pitch and they run back and forth, and without the ball, it can sometimes just look like parkour. He said what is distressing to the German coaches is that there is this underlying thing about giving up on footballers, that a goalkeeper will have a bad game and then that's it. Everybody gives up on him. And as soon as the player plays well, they don't talk about him. But as soon as they make one mistake, everybody comes out in the press and says, "See, I told you he was shit." And I think it's a really interesting thing to say. Again, now that's kind of like the metaphor that I'm talking about with regards to what we're doing this evening. Is you're looking at it from a different perspective, from a different supporter's point of view of your club. Just because Xhaka's playing poorly at the moment doesn't mean he's always going to. And sometimes I don't understand what is the point in being negative about a footballer, because as we've just seen with Hector Bellerin, they're not really fucking paying attention to what you think. You're not gonna. The only way you can improve the situation is by going to the ground and shouting positive things for them, making a positive atmosphere in the ground. Booing them helps how? How does it help? It might make you feel better, but how does it help everybody else collectively? How does it improve performances? How does it improve results? It doesn't. It doesn't. Like Sal and I come from a generation of football supporters who grew up watching their team win almost everything. And now we have supporters 50 plus that will literally just show up at the ground every week. They still have their season ticket. They do this. They fold their arms, they sit there, they don't sing, and they say, impress me. Or he's not as good as Souness. He's not as good as John Barnes. He's not as good as Peter Beardsley. He's not as good as Ronnie Whelan. How does it help? What is the fucking point in that? What kind of supporter are you if you're going to do that?
But Rob, don't forget, those fans that you're talking about are the ones that remember the bad times. You know, I can remember having Mal Donaghy and all these Neil Webb and Danny Wallace and Lee Martin and all these players. And when we went through that period where, you know, David Moyes came in, I was like, you know what, strap yourselves in because this isn't going to be pretty, but let's make it as fun as we possibly can. But the problem is there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes with certain coaches walking out of training sessions, certain managerial decisions that obviously upset the players, certain players that were leaking team sheets to the press, and one of them ended up at Arsenal. Yeah, and they don't want him now, which is funny. It's just fans are very fickle, myself included. I can be very fickle, let's be honest. Smalling, I've been slating all season, and he had put in a man of the match performance against Huddersfield, who didn't have anyone up front. But it's the era we live in. People want instant results, and unfortunately, you win some, you lose some, and you draw some. You just got to take things on the chin. And certain players don't step up. Certain players aren't able to step up because they're played in systems that aren't best suited to them. And my final take on Granit Xhaka is he joined Arsenal at possibly the worst possible time because there's all this infighting, there's this issue with the fans, there's an issue with the board, no one's getting on with each other, the manager is basically trolling everyone. You know, he played a 4-2-3-1 at the beginning of the season, he then went to a 3-4-3, then he went to a 3-4-2-1, and now he's gone to a 4-3-2-1. How can you get any consistency or anything going when even the players don't even know where they're supposed to be playing? And the worst thing about it is that he signed Mkhitaryan and he signed Aubameyang. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, fantastic for Arsenal. They're going to be good players. But where does that leave Lacazette? What does that say about the £50 million striker that you've signed? Are you going to play two up front? Are you going to play two up front and then the two in behind? Are you going to play one up front? I don't even think Wenger knows his best system. And this is weird because you're talking about a guy that revolutionized the English game. You know, you're talking about a guy that woke our eyes, you know, woke us all up to say, right, drinking isn't good. We got to have a specific diet. We got to implement some kind of technology. We got to have sports science. And he has changed the English game. But you know what? He hasn't moved with the times. And when I see someone like Granit Xhaka, who would have done well in Wenger's unbeatable teams, he would have done well in that 97-98 team. You know, he would have done well as a player there because Wenger would have known how to utilize him. He got the best out of Edu. He got the best out of Robert Pires. He got the best out of Manuel Petit, who was floundering at left back at Monaco. So for me, when Wenger sees a player like Granit Xhaka, I don't think he knows how to utilize him. He knows how to use your Ozils and your Mkhitaryan's and your Aubameyangs and Lacazette because they're quick, they're pacey, they've got power, and they're explosive. But Xhaka isn't, and he doesn't know how to utilize him. That's what I'm saying. If you get a new manager and they stick with him, you will see a better Granit Xhaka. If he leaves Arsenal, you will see a better Granit Xhaka. But he won't flourish under Arsene Wenger because Wenger is too set in his own ways and he doesn't listen to whoever's there giving him advice because he's le professeur and he does whatever the fuck he wants.
All right. Well, let's move on a little bit from Arsenal and go a little bit more into the top four race. So I think it's pretty safe to say, I think even the most optimistic of Arsenal fans will recognise that we're not in the top four race. And it's predominantly between, let's assume United are in it. Let's assume that second is not tied up. So United, Chelsea, Tottenham, and Liverpool. First things first, Liverpool. A lot of people seem to be talking about the fact, particularly and I must admit, it does come from sometimes salty Arsenal fans that say Klopp is nothing more than a modern age banger. That's all he is.
I'll take that.
Liverpool fans won't hear of it. Liverpool fans will defend Klopp to the absolute heights. Robbie, are you still happy with Klopp? And will you be happy with Klopp if you go into finish this season again trophyless?
Yes, of course I fucking will be. Because look at the fuck, you got some dickhead in the chat room. Like, I'm not going to start a fight. There's some dickhead in your chat room, right? Grease man who said Liverpool is shit. Are Liverpool shit? Is the brand of football we play shit? Is it? We've just beat Porto 5-0 in Europe. We're fucking bossing teams left, right, and centre. We've lost 3 games all season. Are we shit? Are we fuckers like? Don't be stupid. Listen, right? 4th is not a trophy. It's a piss take. I know that, right? And we know that trophies are tangible because the Gooners are also saying, yeah, but Spurs haven't won anything. That's true. They haven't. But Liverpool in the last 16, right? First year back in the Champions League. Arsenal haven't been doing that recently, have they? Oh.
Yeah, but we know it's shit.
Yeah, but that's fine. So that's you can only compare us to what we've done recently, right?
Yeah.
And we've done really well. We're already in the quarterfinals. So that's progress. That's tangible progress. We're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, first year back in the competition, right? So there you go, right? I understand that people say our goalies are shit, and yeah, they're not great. Of course they fucking are. But now you're seeing Van Dijk bed in. You're seeing Liverpool look a lot more comfortable, a lot more organised, communicating at the back. Are we making mistakes? Of course we are, because everybody makes.
Apparently, Karius is getting better. Is that true?
He is because Van Dijk is talking and Karius is talking, and Karius is Karius is actually the catalyst. He's moving the ball and distributing the ball 1,000,000 times better than Mignolet, who can barely kick a ball. Right? Listen. So, but that's just little increments. These are things that when I've been on this show with you before, I've talked about this thing before, and it's called marginal gains, right? Marginal improvements. And when you go back at the end of the season and look over the season, you can go, oh, well, yeah, Liverpool have scored a ridiculous amount of goals. That's good. Liverpool have only lost 3 games in the league. That's good. Liverpool are now beating the teams that everyone would go, oh, they won't get a fucking result against Southampton. Oh, West Ham will beat them. Oh, and they're great against the top 6 sides, and they're shit against all the shit teams. Well, now we're beating the shit teams, or at least not losing. Those games where they went, oh, they're so wet and they're so wishy-washy. That's tangible proof of our improvement. It's tangible proof. Are we where we want to be? No, of course we're not. Of course we're fucking not. And it's going to take time. Baby Keith next year is going to make a big difference, right? And when you get back next season and he's had the whole of the preseason to work with Van Dijk, you might even see even more improvement. The thing of it is with Liverpool is Klopp has learned the hard way. Lots and lots of good managers do. Fergie learned the hard way. Cloughy learned the hard way. Busby learned the hard way. Good managers do. Even your man Pep learned the hard way last season, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that we're where we want to be. Of course we're not. We want to be top of the league. We want it to be a battle, and it's not. And there's a myriad of reasons for that. But what you see is, if you can't tell me that Liverpool don't play great football. You can't tell me that we aren't improving. You can't tell me that when you see Mo Salah pick up the ball, you don't shit yourself. You can't tell me these things. Well, you can, but you're a fucking liar. You know?
Okay. So, are you confident of securing the top 4 place?
Of course I am. Yeah. Listen, Liverpool. Listen, Man United are definitely the kingmakers in terms of who's going to finish where. Because United have got to play everybody. They've got to play Arsenal. They've got to play Liverpool. They've got to play Chelsea. Chelsea next week, isn't it, Stel?
Sunday, yeah.
Sunday. And Liverpool have still got to play Man United 10th of March.
Yeah.
And then near the end of the season, we've got to play Chelsea. What you're seeing with Liverpool is that what used to happen in the past was we get like the last couple of weeks and like, were we going to finish in the top 4 or not? If it was like on the bubble and we fucked up, that would be it. We just give in. Like the mentality just wasn't fucking there, and it is there now. And that's like the growth of self-belief, the growth of faith and trust in one another as footballers. Liverpool have got some games that on paper they should win. We've got the Everton derby at Everton. We've got Crystal Palace away. We've got Watford at home, Bournemouth at home, Stoke at home, West Brom away, Brighton at home, as well as the European Cup games. We should win the majority of those games. We've got West Ham and we've got Newcastle as well, right? Now, I'm not saying that we're going to win every game 7-0. I'm not saying we're going to win every game, but we'll surely pick up enough points to be able to finish top 4. To be honest with you, I still think that Liverpool should actually be looking to finish top 2. Realistically, when you look at it and you take into account what I've said, and if you can just put your bias to one side and just go, listen, Liverpool are improving. They are winning those games that they weren't before. They are, because there's fucking tangible evidence of it. When you look at the league table, you can't see Liverpool not finishing in the top 4. You can't. If they do, it's a spectacular downfall, and it will be because we've had some sort of rotten injury crisis. But even that doesn't look like happening because Klopp has learned. Stel talked to me about this, and I was nodding my head away last season when we talked about it. He said, he's playing these lads into the ground, and I was nodding my head going, yeah, he absolutely is, and he's learning the hard way. He has learned the hard way. We had that horrible December. We dealt with it. We've lost Coutinho. He's gone. I don't give 2 fucks. We're not missing him. We're not missing him. We're actually a better team without him in many ways.
I knew we wouldn't, because he's overrated. I've always said that.
Listen. He'll go and be a king at Barcelona, but that's fine. Let him do what he wants. What Coutinho did for Liverpool was he was very, very good at scoring important goals. Didn't matter if they were great goals or spectacular goals, but he had this wonderful tendency to show up and score important goals. That's the kind of thing that you can't, pardon the pun really, but you can't really buy that sometimes. You either have those kind of players in your squad or you don't. Liverpool are going to be all right. I'm really, really confident. I'm really happy with where we are. I'm quite worried about Spurs. Spurs remain 2 injuries away from being in big trouble. And obviously with what's happened with Rochdale today, they've got a fixture pile up now. So that's quite interesting how they're going to manage that.
Okay. Stel, United.
Yo.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm a bit disappointed in United. I must admit, because as you guys know, I tipped United to be the ones to actually win the league this year, and it just seems
you're on
like
drugs. You're on drugs.
I honestly did. I thought
You're on drugs.
You are on I don't know, MDMA or something, man. I don't know what drugs are you on if you think United are going to work this season.
Listen, there must be some whack drugs then, because I thought they would push at least. And if anything, it's almost like they've regressed ever since I said that. It's just, well, fuck it, let's just make Chig look extra stupid and just start fucking up to teams that they shouldn't be fucking up to. What's going on at United?
My friend, I feel like I'm kind of like a broken record, because when I try to explain Man United at the moment to most fans, I keep repeating myself, and it stems back to Ferguson's last season at United, when we won the title with Van Persie in the team. When you look at the squad there, we had Vidic, Rio, Evra, Giggs, Scholes, Wayne Rooney, Michael Carrick, players that come into kind of the back end of their careers, and then David Moyes came in, and obviously we know what happened then. But the problems ran a lot deeper than David Moyes coming in and changing the whole backroom stuff. Alex Ferguson left a very average squad. And if you look at the players that we had then, again, Raphael, Fabio had left, Danny Welbeck, Cleverley, Johnny Evans. It was a remarkable season for us to win the league with that squad. Javier Hernandez. These aren't names that you associate with great Man United teams. You don't associate these names with great teams that win Champions Leagues and European Cups. We got to like 3 Champions League finals with a lot of these players. And I don't know how we did it. I really don't. I mean, when we lost Ronaldo, we went downhill because we didn't replace him. But that was a sign of things to come, because people say how much money Man United has spent now. But if you look at the amount of money United spent between when Ronaldo left to when Van Gaal came in, it wasn't that much. I think Stoke and Aston Villa actually spent more than us in that time frame, and you can actually check on it. And if I'm wrong, then shoot me. But believe me, you're going to be firing blanks because I'm right. And all of this is because of our owners who refuse to put their hands in their pockets. They refuse to spend money on the academy. We lost Brian McClare as a director of academy. We didn't replace him for 4 years. Nicky Butt came in a couple of seasons ago. So we haven't been producing the great players. Rashford's come in. All right, he's done okay, but and it's all hype. I'm going to tell you this now because he's another speed merchant. But I'm not going to go into Rashford because I keep rinsing him. So a lot. Isn't it? No, he's not that bad. At least he's a teenager. He's still got a bit of time left. Do you know what I mean? He's got a few years on him, but and the problem runs deep. And when you look at the squad that Mourinho inherited, and forget the signings that he made for just a moment, forget Ibrahimovic, forget Pogba, forget Bailly, and forget Mkhitaryan, just for a moment. If you look at the squad that he inherited, right, was that squad good enough to win anything? Honestly, was it good enough? Because I look at that squad that he inherited and look at maybe David De Gea as the only player that could make it into a World 11. Could Valencia then? No. Could Smalling and Jones? I can't say what I'm going to say about what I said about them on Twitter because I got shut down. So I don't want to shut your show down. Luke Shaw at the time, Ashley Young, Ander Herrera. These players, I'm looking at them like, how the fuck did he win 2 trophies with these players? Daley Blind. I'll keep saying this because I had an argument with someone the other day, and it's an insult I always use. People say Daley Blind is an intelligent footballer. Yeah? Intelligent footballer. And that means he should play for Manchester United. Well, let me tell you what. Stephen Hawking is a fucking genius. Would you play him for Man United? Because I'm sorry. Some people need to realise that this Man United team that Mourinho inherited was dog shit, right? But he made Fellaini a player. He made Fellaini get important goals. He put him in a team and he was telling him to be physical. He got stuck in. He got some important goals for us. And we marched on to win 2 trophies, And last season, league-wise, was appalling. But that stems down to the players that he had at his disposal. He knew that Smalling and Jones weren't good enough. But, what's he going to do? How can you get rid of players that no one wants? People are saying, well, he could have got rid of them. How? Who's going to want to buy Chris Smalling? Who's going to want to buy Phil Jones? You tell me one team that would benefit by having these 2 dog shites in their team. I don't know one. Darmian, another Van Gaal signing. How can an Italian defender that doesn't know how to defend? How is this even possible? It just doesn't make sense. So, we've brought in these players that obviously brought in Bailly, who's been injured this season because he went to African nations and messed up his ankle. We've had Pogba that's had a few injuries with his hamstring and whatnot. Martial, okay? Martial was great, and this is a fact. So if anyone in the chat room that wants to talk about Martial's attitude, this is the player that kicked off a stink because we gave his number 9 to Ibrahimovic, and we gave him the number 11. We gave him Ryan Giggs' number 11, and he started crying because he wanted the number 9 shirt. Is this the kind of mentality that you want? You tell me. So Mourinho's coming in, he's had to basically fix players up. He had to go at Luke Shaw. You can't say anything to Luke Shaw because Luke Shaw is he's got an eating problem. He loves eating pizza and he loves watching Babe Station. You've got to be nice to Luke Shaw. because he's an English player, and you've got to
fair,
cuddle him
Sal,
like Pochettino does.
To be fair, Sal, who doesn't? Who doesn't? Who doesn't like
But
eating
this is what I'm
pizza?
saying, Geezer. Like, they complain that players are mollycoddled, and then when it comes to a player that needs a kick up the backside, because he's a quality player, Luke Shaw, he just doesn't have it up here, or he didn't have it up here. Now he's bucked up his ideas and he's actually playing well, But Mourinho comes in and he fucking treats him like shit, and he wakes up, and all of a sudden Mourinho's a bad person. I don't know what to say, And he's brought in Lukaku, and fair enough, the guy. He's an oaf, okay? Let's be 100% honest. But he's scored 22 goals this season, which isn't a bad return. In fact, he's got more goals than I think Lacazette and Morata put together in the league. So,
of course,
you tell me if he's a dud signing. I just think that there's been a lot of expectancy because of money spent. Well, I'm sorry, but everyone spends money these days. You can't tell me that money is an argument these days. When Sunderland get close to £100 million from the TV money for getting relegated, money isn't a problem anymore in the game. It's not a problem. It's not an issue. It's not something that we should use in an argument. It's bollocks. But going back to what you said about United winning the title, yeah, we should be a lot closer than what we are. But isn't that a bit of a kicking the balls to Man City, who have basically steamrolled over everyone? How can you catch up with the team that is winning practically every game?
Sure.
We went third. We get this. We equaled. Get this. Before we lost to City, we'd equaled our longest unbeaten run at home, which was 40 games, a record that had gone on since 1966. Even Fergie didn't get that record. So there has been progress. It's just that people expect too much because of Man United and because of the money that's spent, and because the people that expect too much from Man United are the same people that Robbie mentioned before, that sit there with their arms folded and say, come on, entertain me, win games. It's not like that. This Man United side it reminds me of the 1990 to 1992 squad, where you could see that there's potential, you could see that there's talent, but there's a lot of shit that needs to go. And once that's addressed, we'll be fine. The problem is, how far behind will we be until we get there? Because Liverpool aren't a million miles from Man City. I'm telling you this now. Next season, City ain't going to steamroll it like they're doing it this season.
Baby Keith!
Yeah.
Any opportunity? Baby Keith!
I agree with you, Stan. In fact, that actually kind of leads on to the question I was going to ask you. Well, I might as well do that now. I mean, in the next couple of Premier League games, you actually have Liverpool to play, and that's going to be seen as a key game in terms of the top four shakeout. And a lot of kind of Premier League predictors and people who do this type of thing reckon that Liverpool might just leapfrog everybody and just hit second place. Like, they really believe that Liverpool could do this. Could you see a scenario like that happening? Do you still feel confident about securing a top four place for United?
You talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, ask me that again, because I thought you were asking Robbie. I switched off.
Sorry. The point about Liverpool kind of closing the gap on City kind of brings me to the question that I was going to ask you, which was the fact that on the 10th of March, United play Liverpool. And a lot of Premier League predictors out there believe that, the way that the kind of fixtures are going and what they feel that Liverpool will win and what they won't win, they reckon that Liverpool are outside favourites for the second spot. I say outside, they're third place. They're not far off. I mean, do you see a scenario like that happening? Are you worried that United are perhaps being a bit too casual about this top four place?
I'm not worried about being casual. I'm worried about the attitude and the mentality of a lot of our players. We've got a lot of weak players mentally. Martial is one, Rashford is one, Smalling, Jones, Darmian. I know he doesn't play that much, but when he does come in, he doesn't do a job. I think Matic is absolutely knackered right now. He's had a very good debut season. The problem is he's been played way too much than what he should. I mean, that's because when you've got understudies like Ander Herrera coming in, why do you think Mourinho's playing McTominay instead of Herrera? because McTominay is more reliable. You can count on him to do a job. Herrera had that one game against Chelsea where he marked Eden Hazard out of the game. Okay, fine. He gave him a few kicks. He did it in the FA Cup game as well and got sent off. But when we play against teams like Liverpool, who are just so direct and so quick on the counter attack and quick moving the ball, it worries me because our players are A, mentally weak, and B, they're not quick off the mark either, like up here. Which is the reason why it didn't surprise me when we went for a very defensive-minded system at Anfield, because we knew what was coming. It was going to be an avalanche of attacks, one after the other. And apart from a couple of good saves from De Gea, we limited Liverpool, and all of a sudden Mourinho got slated for it, even though it was a very good point. If you look at it now,
Still, as I said to you at the time, mate, it's a real backhanded compliment when somebody like Jose has to go and do that in the big games. It is a big backhanded compliment, and I kind of hope that you don't do that again, not just against Liverpool, but as I said, like Man United have got to play Chelsea, Liverpool, City, Arsenal.
And Arsenal, yeah. And listen, and this goes back to what people say about Mourinho's record against the big teams this season and last season. It hasn't been great, and I just wonder if that record or that statistic is kind of playing on in the players' minds, because I want us to go out against Liverpool and give it a right go, and I want our players to believe that we can get the win, because we can beat Liverpool. I mean, we've got players that can do damage. It's not just Salah and Firmino and Mane that can destroy us. I mean, let's be honest, Rashford can do bits, Lukaku can do a few things. Pogba, when he gets in the game, he's one of the best in the league. But he just doesn't show it enough, and those are other reasons which I'm not going to go into. But we can cause teams damage. I mean, we've scored. How many times have we scored? 4 times this season in the league. I think we've scored 4 times. Sorry, 6 times. We scored 4 goals 6 times in the league this season. We've scored 2 goals or more 7 times in the league, and I think we've only had 5 1-0s. And we've kept the most clean sheets. So I can't see why we can't win these games. Yeah. It just worries me about the mentality. And like I said, when I see Smalling and Jones in centre back, I'm just like, you know what? Game's over. The game is over when we see that team sheet.
You're always going to give people a chance, aren't you? Smalling is always going to give you a chance.
Okay. I mean, as we start to go towards wrapping the show up, I just wanted to ask you both on 2 former Arsenal boys that both of you guys have, and we haven't really touched on it today. So let me go with you, Robbie, first. Ox. Now, initially, when you guys had him, in fact, I remember before you got Ox was even sold, I remember telling you, trust me, you'll get a good player. And when he initially came in, he had a bit of a rough start, and then even I was enjoying the banter, but all the while I kept cautioning people, listen, you're laughing at Ox now. Trust me, Klopp will get the best out of him. And slowly but surely, you are seeing Ox blossom into the player that I always thought he would be. How is he settling into Liverpool? How do you view him?
Honestly, he's a changed boy. He's obviously... I think the fact that his father is a former player is in many ways wonderful for him and sometimes terrible for him. Because we know that when he has a bad game, and we're seeing this, and I saw it when he was at Arsenal, when he has a bad game, he knows, and it's the end of the world for him. And he's the kind of guy that wears his heart on his sleeve. So the other game against Southampton the other day, he came off, and he looked like he just looked like somebody had shat all over his cornflakes, basically. And he hadn't had a great game. He hadn't had a terrible game. But the standards that he sets for himself said to him that he'd had a poor game. That being said, I was delighted when we bought him because I said that he would fit our system perfectly. And he absolutely 100% fits our system perfectly. He's able to come off the bench in the last 20 minutes and change a game. He adds tempo to our midfield. He can play in the front 3. He can carry the ball. He has a good range of passing, and he has scored important goals for us. But it's not just on the field. You can see that he's really settled in really well with the rest of the players. He knows a lot of the lads really, really well. I'm keen to see him play alongside Lallana. I'd like to see him and Lallana playing together later on in the season. It looks like the season's a bit of a write-off for Adam, unfortunately. But on paper, I see them working very, very well together. What the Ox does, it's kind of an intangible thing. That he's doing so much more work off the ball. He works really, really well when we have to do the gegenpressing kind of stuff as well. We're playing with that high line. And we've had this thing that's changed this year where Adam was very much the catalyst of working the gegenpressing. And they would set little traps when they were going to catch the central defenders and intercept the ball. And Bobby Firmino's done that more this year. Now, Bobby still doesn't speak English. And what we've seen happen is the Ox has been doing it more and more and more. When you watch, I'm watching his body language. I'm watching what he's doing when he hasn't got the ball. Yeah. And what he does is he keeps a really, really good shape to our midfield. And it's silly little things like that, like 10 meters this way, 5 meters that way, and holding a shape that can make so much difference insofar as stealing the ball back and then countering. And those are the things that, unfortunately, he wasn't getting a lot of support from when he was trying to do these things at Arsenal. And you had players that just weren't really interested in chasing the ball down and working hard enough. So great attitude, great professionalism, fits us really, really well. And yeah, I'm over the moon. Again, I look forward to next season when Klopp's had a pre-season with him. And then we'll probably see the player blossom even more. So I'm delighted with him.
Can I just add something to that, Bob? I think Chamberlain is at a club where the fans appreciate him.
Yes.
And I'm going to say this because it hurts me to say this, but the Liverpool fans, they appreciate players that give it their all. And of all the ex-Liverpool players I've spoken to in the past, you know, not on my show and whatnot, sorry, cheap plug, they all have an affiliation with Liverpool Football Club, even if they've been there for a year or even if they've been bombed out, because the fans in Liverpool like appreciate these players. They see them out and about, they talk to them. There's like there's a strong unity at Liverpool, and it's I think it's a cultural thing within the city. I think it stems even way before the Jamie Bolger thing, way before Hillsborough, way before that. Liverpool is a city that is very strong and very united. People stand together. It's impressive because I don't know any other city in the UK with that strength and that unity. And when it comes to the footballers, they love their football. Same with Everton, you know, they love their football, and players that go there, they leave happy, unless they're Charles Itangi, they got bombed out for laughing for whatever. But you know, players that leave Liverpool or turn up there, they always give their all because they know that the fans appreciate them. And I think that's the same with Oxlade-Chamberlain, because he's gone to a club that the fans like. He's an explosive footballer. He's quick. He's strong. He's kind of like John Barnes in that way, in the sense that he's got that extra bit of pace. He's scary. You know, when he's on form, he's a really good player. And I went on the Fifth Official podcast a few weeks ago, and it was in fact when Coutinho left Liverpool. I said, you know what, they're going to be fine with Chamberlain there because he suits Liverpool's system better than Coutinho does. Because Coutinho, as good as he is, he slows the game down, because what he will do, he'll bring the ball inside all the time. He'll bring the ball inside. And when you've got runners on either side there, you can only really play one ball, which is your diagonal ball to the right winger or the right back, because he doesn't have that, how can I put it, not the intelligence, but he's not quick thinking to play that reverse ball. He hasn't got that in him. He's a good player, but Chamberlain's just so explosive. He can just, he's like a battering ram. Yeah. And as you saw that goal against Man City, you know, to make it 1-0. So I'm not saying he's a better player, but I think he's better suited to that system.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think you're going to get the best out of him because he's more appreciated at the club.
Yeah.
And with Alexis Sanchez, just to move it on a little bit. Stel, are you still happy with him? I mean, he's almost like as though he's carried a little bit of his Arsenal form over to you guys. I still think it's a bit early days to say that personally, but he's not, I suppose, exploded, I guess, in a way at least I know my dad is a massive United fan. He's not all the way happy with it. What are your feelings of Alexis Sanchez at the moment?
Well, for me, it's the same as what I said about Berbatov when we got him in the January transfer window. And I said he hasn't had a pre-season, and people say, "Oh, that's no excuse because he's a professional footballer." But you know what? It makes a massive difference. And this is not from me just plucking an idea out of my head. This is coming from speaking to ex and current pros. I mean, I even spoke to Pogba myself, cheap plug again for another show I did, and he was telling me how important it was for him to have that pre-season at United, because you get to know your players, you get to know the system, you get to mingle, you get to do all the things that you can't really do. As Bellerin said, he goes home and he's only got the whole day to work on things. But I think with Sanchez, it will come in time. Every player needs time. But when I look at him, he reminds me very much how Carlos Tevez was. He's buzzing about. He's always trying to create something. Yeah, he gives the ball away. Doesn't every player? I don't know one player that never gives the ball away. I think he will come good. The only thing is, I'm not entirely sure if Jose knows his best position. And by that, I mean how we can utilize him along with the other players that we have. He had a good day against Yeovil. Can't really read too much into that. We had a good game against Huddersfield at home. Spurs, he was all right, kicked off the park, but that's part and parcel of the game. If you don't take a few kicks, and it goes back to the mentality, Chig. What I said before, with Martial, I don't mean to dig him out again, but I remember when we lost 2-0 to Huddersfield. In the second minute, he was kicked by their right back. He didn't play again. Against Newcastle the other week, he was poked in the eye in the first minute. Didn't really do too much. He missed that one-on-one chance. And again, it goes back to mentality. Sanchez keeps going. And that's what you like to see, And I think that's why he endeared himself a lot to Arsenal fans, because while other players were hiding, he'd be pulling performances out of his arse, which is why it surprised me when he got all this stick about his playing ability, not the decision to leave or to go to United. That's separate. It's the playing side where people were slating him. Like, hang about. I swear he's got a bad back from carrying you for 3 seasons. He was a fantastic footballer. He still is a fantastic, but he needs time. And whether or not he beds in till the end of the season, I can't answer that. I want him to. He's showing signs that he's able. The thing is, right? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I can't remember which game it was. He basically threw a hissy fit because Lingard didn't play the ball back to him, and people on social media were going, "Oh look," and people were like, "Oh look at him, he's starting all over again." Sorry, my voice is going, but they're saying, "Oh, he started all over again." Bang about. I remember Ronaldo. Get this, it was against Aston Villa. We were 2-1 down. Ronaldo got the ball in the edge of the box. He was tripped up. He threw a hissy fit. He was on the ground. The ball came out to him. He stood up, hit his left foot in the bottom corner. Same with Wayne Rooney against Newcastle. He was arguing with the referee. Ball comes over the top. He's arguing with the referee. Takes one look at the ball. Bang, top corner. And these are the kind of things that you see from players. These are winners. And this is what I'm trying to understand for people. People think it's moaning. These players are winners. He's won trophies at international level. He's won trophies at club level. He's a winner. If he didn't complain, right, then I'd be concerned because, he's a fantastic
Bellerin, isn't it?
If it was Hector Bellerin throwing hissy fits on the pitch, I'd be like, why are you complaining for? You're shit. But if it's someone like Alexis Sanchez that's won you trophies, I'm sorry, what do you want? Do you not want a winner? Do you not want someone that wants the best from his teammates? I don't understand. These days, it's all about mollycoddling players and being social justice warriors and being, maybe he's suffering. If you're suffering, why are you playing? You're not Clark Carlisle, okay? Just stop it, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much it from us. But before we go, let me get just a brief kind of what you think the top 4 would be, honestly. Take it all biased, what your genuine opinion, in order, obviously starting with City, what you think the top 4 will be. So, Robbie, let's go with you first.
I'm gonna go Liverpool second, United third, Spurs fourth.
Okay.
But it's
Stel?
tied between Liverpool and United.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Liverpool second because
Oh, wow.
I think the thing is their running is. I'm not saying it's easy, but they can really steamroll teams. They really can. And what I wanted to say when Robbie was talking about Salah, I didn't want to interrupt him, but with Mohamed Salah, it's the same fear factor as what they had with Luis Suarez. So Liverpool's threat is two-pronged. They've got a system and a team that can batter others. It's like we can score more goals than you. And then they've got Mohamed Salah, who has been a revelation this season. And to be fair, Rob, I think Salah's actually kept Klopp in the job, to be fair, because I know FSG were getting a little bit, edgy, twitchy about him. But I'm not saying that they're going to shoot him. But I think he's actually done. He's done a really good job this season, Salah. And
Hello? Hello?
Hello? We've lost Stel.
That was audio a little bit, have we?
Your audio's gone out, Stel, if you can hear us. No.
The audio's gone out, mate.
Plugging it in and out. Turning it off and on again, Stel.
What now?
There you go. Yeah, go on.
I don't know what happened there, but where was I?
You were talking about Klopp was on the bubble and FSG were not happy.
FSG, they weren't going to sack him, but they were a little bit underwhelmed with the way that he was going on. I think the chairman, what's his name? I forget his name.
John Henry.
Yeah, John Henry absolutely loves him. He absolutely loves him. But I think Salah has really come on leaps and bounds, and Karius has improved as well.
Yeah.
I know people slate him. And they slate him for that goal against Spurs, which I don't understand because when that ball came in the box, the height we're talking like hip height. And for him to get that distance on the punch, it could have gone anywhere, but it just happened to fall to Wanyama, and that was a worldie. That could have gone in row Z. But they don't talk about that one-on-one save he made with Kane. They don't talk about him standing tall for the penalty, and he caught it. So I just think once Liverpool get that back line sorted, you can really take them serious. So I'm going to go for second place for Liverpool. I'm going to go third place for United. I think the Champions League is going to be a nice distraction for us, and it could actually build some character in the team. I'm hoping to see more from the likes of Martial and Rashford. And I think Rashford is going to come on leaps and bounds at the back end of the season. And fourth, I'm going to go Chelsea, because I think they're going to go out in the Champions League. I think Barcelona are going to knock them out. And the teams that they've got remaining, I know they've got to go to Leicester away. I know they've got to play Spurs at home. But the rest of the games, Huddersfield at home, Newcastle away, that they'll beat them. I think they'll beat Swansea away. I think they'll beat Southampton away. I think Liverpool is obviously going to be the difficult one. But when you've got someone like Eden Hazard who can change a game like that, it's difficult. I mean, don't get me wrong, Spurs are doing well, but I think they'll get past Juventus, and then their minds are going to switch over to the Champions League. And we saw when they beat Real Madrid how their form kind of dipped. And I think the same sort of thing's going to happen when they get through against Juventus. And I think they'll just about miss out. So, yeah, it'll be City, Liverpool, United, and Chelsea.
Okay. And mine is United, Liverpool. So obviously City first, but United, Liverpool, and Arsenal fourth. Come on, Arsenal! Come on, goodness, come on! And I only say that purely because I've just looked at our running, and it ain't bad.
Yeah, but Chig, you need to be going up.
I know what you're going to say. Not tweaking. I know what you're going to say. I know. I'm deluded. I know.
You're not. It's not that you're deluded. It's just that to do it, you need to be doing what Manchester City did from November to early January. You need to be going at championship winning pace to get back into this. And I say that, and it's 8 points. But it's not that you won't get 8 points. You could. And I'm like, Liverpool are going to drop points. United are going to drop points. Chelsea are going to drop points. Spurs are going to drop points. Even City might drop points. But it's whether or not, the one thing that we haven't talked about tonight is that everybody below Burnley is in a relegation fight. Everybody below Burnley is in a relegation fight. So there's going to be some funny games come up where you're like, fucking hell, I can't believe they only got a draw, or fucking hell, I can't believe they lost to Swansea as Liverpool, you know. But and
do you know what? I think that the one reason Arsenal won't get top four is that Europa League, because I think Wenger has done what Mourinho did last season and realised that top four is going to be difficult. Winning the title ain't going to happen. So the best, or the most, I wouldn't say easiest, but the most realistic chance of getting into that Champions League spot is to win the Europa League. Let's not make any bones about it.
It's going to be hard, though.
Hold on. Let me explain myself. This is my call. Let me explain myself, right? Because fucking hell, the chat room's gone mad. People are calling me tired shit. So it's like, all right, motherfucker, you know me.
By the way,
you know me.
By the way, the only person I'm actually paying attention to in the chat room is Emily Mortimer, because she's great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know me. Come on. I don't actually think it's going to happen. All I will say is this. Do I think it's impossible? Wenger is the fucking master of getting results to save his job. He's the master of that shit. And because I don't necessarily think we're going to win the Europa, I don't. I hope we will, but I don't. I think the only way that surely that team will not turn around to him and say it's enough is enough is if he doesn't get fourth place. And for that to happen, he has to go on an amazing run. And Arsenal, when they need to, tend to get on an amazing run. Last season aside, they tend to finish seasons very strong in order to finish in that top four place. So don't get it twisted. I'm fucking having a laugh, people. Relax. I'm not tired, I'm not deluded.
Nearly had me for a second. Fucking
right?
hell.
Calm fucking down. Blinded. But
listen. But mate, listen. I've been saying this for ages, right? It's all about mentality. Arsenal have to play Man City, right? You have to go to Newcastle. You have to play West Ham. You got to go away to Huddersfield, away to Brighton. These aren't nice places to go to. Like, you got to go away to Newcastle, yeah?
We've got a quite good record with Newcastle, bar a 4-4.
But you're talking about a team that's fighting for relegation, and this is what I'm saying. When it comes to mentality and attitude and mental strength, I don't think you guys have got it, and I think that the problem is it's been there for a while. But as I said before, your best route into the Champions League is through the Europa League, and yet it's going to be difficult because you've got the likes of Leipzig who are going to knock out Napoli probably. You've got Atletico Madrid that got a good 4-1 win the other day. Dortmund won against Atalanta. So you've got these teams still in the competition, but I don't think that it's beyond the realms of possibility to win the tournament. I think you can win it, and I think you're the most better off team to win it, and I think Wenger knows it. I really think
you're right. I just don't see it. I just see Wenger failing. To be honest, it'd be so Wenger to get all the way to an easier semi-final and then fuck up in the semi-final. I can so see something like that happening. So I just don't see that happening. I
see Arsenal getting to the final, and when the chips are down, by and large, they don't perform. I would hate it if you had to face Atletico. They would absolutely steamroll you. And you just play into their hands. Don't get me wrong as well. Listen, I want Arsenal to do well. I want everybody to do well. In a perfect world, I want 4 English teams in the Champions League semi-finals. It's important to me, with my England hat on, that we all do well. Right? I never begrudge Man United doing well in Europe, or anybody. And it's important that Arsenal do well. But last year, once United had beaten Copenhagen, you might as well give them the trophy then. Let's be honest, because Jose was never going to let anybody fuck them over. Wenger quite likely is, because that's his mantra, that's the culture inside the club, that's his attitude. It ain't going to change now. Are they going to get somebody in the summer? I think they are, because you're hearing there's actually somebody available. This time last year, I remember coming on the show and we talked about it and said, are they going to get rid of him? And me and Stel both said no, because there was absolutely no concrete person being linked with the job. It doesn't mean that they don't want the job. Of course, somebody's going to want the job. Arsenal's a huge job. Of course it is. Nobody would say otherwise. Spurs fans would, but they're just being cunts. Let's just be real here. When there's somebody like Allegri available, and there has obviously been some sort of shift inside the club at Arsenal in terms of recruitment and the way that they're thinking about things, somebody's actually gone, hang on a minute, we need to think about the future, right? Now, that's a good thing, because 2 years ago you didn't have that, and Wenger had a stranglehold on the club, and he's done great things for the club, and I hugely admire him. It's time for a change, and we all know that. And it's probably written into his contract that if he doesn't get top 4, there's a clause saying, we can let you go, all the best, cheerio, right? And we also know that clubs have a propensity to wait until the last minute for these things, so they don't have to shell out millions and millions and millions of pounds, as Everton are going to have to do with Sam in the summer. So think on for that.
Yeah, but listen, don't forget, right? Don't forget, if sorry to interrupt there, Chris. I'm just gonna say what I've got to say and then leave you to it. But don't forget, right now, if you're talking about when Wenger should have gone, and we can't say Wenger should have gone 3 or 4 years ago and also should have got Pep, because Guardiola was always earmarked to be a Man City manager. The moment Begiristain was brought in by Man City as director of football from Barcelona back in 2011, 2012. Guardiola was their man. They knew he was going to go to Bayern Munich because he already told them before he went on that sabbatical in New York. So they knew he was going to Bayern Munich, but he made an agreement, a verbal agreement with Begiristain that he would go to Man City afterwards, and lo and behold, he's done it. So Guardiola was in the pipeline for 5 years to go to Man City. So this whole notion about Pep Guardiola was available, and people talk about they want Ancelotti. Why do you want Ancelotti? I'm sorry, but as good as he was, again, he's another one that hasn't moved on. And, I love Jose. Don't get me wrong. I love Jose with everything I have. I love his demeanor. I love how he's pissing people off. I love how he says things to deflect attention, and it works. Even though people say that he only does it for that, it works. So there you go. But my main criticism of him is the same with Ancelotti. Has he moved on with the times? Because his system is still a little bit archaic, which is why people like Pochettino and Guardiola and Klopp get that adulation, and Thomas Tuchel, because they do something different and they're getting results. Whereas Mourinho is kind of grinding out results every now and again and battering, what they call cannon fodder. But it's always the old adage where it's like, is he a checkbook manager? But, he's won trophies, and that's the thing. That's what's basically keeping his head above water and keeping him up there, because he's won trophies. He won 2 trophies in his debut season at United. No manager has ever won a trophy in their debut season at United, and he's done it, and he won 2. So again, it's, you want a manager that's going to come in, that's going to command respect, but also bring in something that's entertaining for the fans, which is what Wenger did when he came in back in the day. And you're looking to catch lightning in a bottle again. And it's very, very difficult, because there aren't that many managers out there that can do it, that are available. Maybe Jurgen Löw. Maybe he's the only one. I don't know.
You guys do not know the meaning of keeping it brief when I ask for top 4 questions.
Yeah, fuck off.
Fuck me.
You're going to have us on the show. You know this is going to happen. Fuck off.
Fuck me sideways.
2 hours of meaning, moaning. Fuck off.
Let's wrap this shit up. Let's get out of it. Thank you guys so much for listening to us and sticking with us throughout this time. Go ahead and crush that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button. And also, follow the boys on Twitter. Stel, do you want to let them know where they can find you and how to listen to your show, Shoot the Defense, and everything?
Yeah. Just follow at Shoot the Defense. My personal account got suspended because I wish death on Chris Smalling. So yeah, I've got another account, but I can't be asked to. You can tweet me.
Weird trouble on Twitter. You really do, both of you.
Yeah, I've been a bad boy this week. I can't tell you about it. I'll tell you about it off air. But I got in serious fucking trouble and nearly got my brother sacked. Fucking can't talk. In fact, I shouldn't have even fucking said that. I'm at Robbie Richmond. It's Robbie with a Y. you will find me on Twitter, where I should warn you, I tweet a lot about. No, do I tweet about rugby that much these days, boys? Not really, but still politics a lot. Sounds about me.
Yeah, you tore down the politics a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying. I appreciate that nobody gives a fuck. But I've worked it out that basically, like, the world's going to do a hell in a handbasket, but nobody seems to really give a fuck. So, yeah. Tweets about how much I love Dr. Pepper, stuff like that. Yeah, you know, what are you going to do? But listen, thanks for having me on, Chris. It's been a good luck.
Listen, one more thing. Yeah, just what Rob said. Everyone in the chat room has been brilliant. I mean, don't take everything we say to heart. I mean, a lot of it is to wind you lot up, and it seems to work, and you guys are tapping away, which is great. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I love the interaction of the chat room, even the dickheads. I very rarely block them. I always give them timeouts if they cross the mark. And generally these days, they tend to be arguing amongst themselves in the chat room. What's going on?
Honestly, listen, hit us up on Twitter. We will talk to you. You can have a conversation with us. It's not, and also, we're not just going to shout cunt at you over and over and over. Well, Chiggy does sometimes, but you know,
I do sometimes. Yeah, legitimately give Stell's podcast a listen to. It's a very good
it's awesome. Shooting the fence. Get on shooting the fence. It's awesome.
One more thing to give that a listen. Chris, one more thing. Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen your arms. All I thought was just a head. I thought you were just a head.
I am.
Honestly, I've never seen. I thought you were just a head.
But yeah, go give it a listen to. He works, so just by all means, go and listen.
Boys hustling.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're out of here, people. Take care. Enjoy your Sunday night. Peace.